My friend taught on a little bit. He's in Warrior with me. Ryan Stewman is really important. But he talks about the thing I thought would be cool to share. He's like, how many of you guys, parents, gave you a template on how to live life? No one, right? So like, there's very few people that got a template from their parents on, here's a template, an operating system to run life on, and it'll help you get a good outcome, right? None of us got that. Why is that? Well, most of us were struggling from that. Most of us probably didn't have great childhoods, right? Most of us probably didn't have parents who were ideally where we wanted to be. So that's a key thing that most people are missing. That's something that he taught us to kind of teach on. So there's one thing that none of us really were taught, a structure on how to live life and how to win at life, right? Most people are just taught by pastors, friends, people on our same socioeconomic level, which is why most people are what? Stuck in the same socioeconomic level. Why is that, you think? And here's the crazier part. People who are at a high level, socioeconomic level, they don't want to spend a whole lot of time trying to drag around or be around people who are at a lower socioeconomic level. Why? It pulls them down. It's taxing on them emotionally. It's taxing on them physically. It's taxing on them. And so that's why most people feel stuck. And the only way you can really do that is to borrow that from somebody else. Typically, you want to find an operating system that works well for you. I think it's pretty cool, right? And so that's the key part. And here's the crazy part. Like, you got to make sure that you're really kind of building that. And he talks about a couple of different things too. And he really resonates. Like, people thought they have love until you have kids, right? I had a dog. Thought I loved my dog very, very deeply. But you don't realize what love is until you do what? Have kids, right? Different worlds. So you got to understand that. And so the whole goal for everyone is to create an operating system that you can create for kids to help them be productive results, right? And so that's something that's important. But just talks about some rules to live by for life, where right now, social media society is teaching you that all the value is in looks and material items. You guys notice that in social media, right? It's in looks and material items. That's what you see everybody pushing on. But ideally, that's not what the world rewards, at least in a business sense or a financial sense, right? And so there's a framework that really kind of breaks down, really in alignment with what we talked about, which I wanted to kind of teach and go through. It's 4 main things and principles that really kind of guide you in life, and it's really what society raises the most, which is important. And so society values 4 main things. You make them the core in your life, right? They make you valuable by default. I'll say it again. Society values 4 things. If you make them a part of your core in your life, they make you valuable by default. And so society by default doesn't have a choice. They value these 4 things, at least in business. Trust, want to be around you, number 1. And it breaks down to this thing called R.I.S.E. What do you think the R stands for? Close. Responsibility. Responsibility. And so we talked about this, right? It's part of the thing we trained on last week, is a responsibility. The things you're responsible for, I'm responsible for everything, right? We call that just personal, major personal ownership, meaning what I have there, right? And so what does that mean overall? What does responsibility mean to you guys? Yep. So if I say I'm going to call somebody, a lead back on Friday, what do? Call the lead on Friday. Now, if something happens and I say, hey, look, Lucas, why don't you call the lead back on Friday? This is not specific. This is an example. What is important? You got to own it, right? And say, you know what, man? I tell you, screw that up. I messed it up, and I'll make sure that doesn't happen again, because that's something that's very important to make sure I own the responsibility so I can do what? Correct it, right? Which is important. Now, most people, what do they tend to do? They blame, make an excuse. And it goes back to what we talked about last week with responsibilities on the side here, where that's important for us because you have to own whatever it is, even when bad happens to you, right? You have to be able to figure out a way it is to make sure you take that and turn it into something good. That's important. Second piece, integrity. Very important. What does that mean? What's the difference between responsibility and integrity, you think? Yeah. So responsibility is I own whatever it is, no matter what happens to me, right? I'm in my place in my life because of my previous decisions. But I own that decision, make good decisions from that, right? Or something bad happened to you, I may have led to that by my decisions, what I did, how I operated, the people I associated with, whatever it may be. Integrity means what? I own my words, right? I do what I said it was. And this is one thing I wrote down that's important, is that society values people of their word. I'll say it again. Society values people of their word. Your word is your most valuable piece of you that comes down to your integrity, right? What's the number one way to show integrity? Do what you say you do, right? This is important to understand. And so this is people around you. Most importantly, where does it come from? Where is the most important piece to do it? To yourself, right? To yourself. And this all compounds, I'll talk about this in a minute, of how this does it. So if I say I'm going to have a calendar, and I say I made $100, and I put my win down as $100, that's an example of what? Integrity. So I own it, where if I say I'll make $100 today, what do? Make $100 regardless of what it is. I don't just put my win in the box and say, yeah, I made $100. That's a lack of integrity if I don't do that. When here's the crazy part, do people eventually figure out I don't have integrity? Yeah, because you put it down every week, you make $100, but you're not selling. Guess what we all know? You ain't making $100. Just is what it is, right? And so we all value people with more integrity who get done because you can trust them around you. Does this make sense? And even though you may not be called out on it, they know around you if they can trust you on to show it up. Is there any doubt I'll be at the gym in the mornings?
What's that?
Is there any doubt I'll be at the gym in the mornings? No, because I say I'll be there, I'm friggin' there, right? Unless I'm on an airplane somewhere. I will be at the gym, period. Right? So that's just, there's no sleeping late, no option. There's just no option. So as you have that integrity, you have more certainty, more power from yourself. But more importantly, the reason I'm sharing this, society values you more. And here's the crazy part. We think we're integrity. Many times we're not. Okay? That's something we want to kind of investigate. We'll dig deeper in a minute. Now, where do you show integrity at? Your decisions, what you do. Right? Very, very important piece there overall. Number 3, service. What does that mean, you think? Yeah, very important here. So this is where most people miss, right? Service means going above and beyond to those you serve. Particularly for us to be what? Client. This is what I built the whole business on. It's been hard for me as I've leveraged a team, right? I built a business by just friggin' delivering to our clients, man. If I said I was going to call them, I called them. I called them once. If I told them I'm calling them once, I called them 5 times. And that was something that's easy to do as one person, but to delegate that and to duplicate that is difficult. And so what does that mean? Like when you guys hear service in the business world, what do you think of? Where's the place you've experienced lately that got really good service? What's one of the best? What's one of the most well-known? Chick-fil-A. I was looking for that answer, right? Chick-fil-A is really, do you guys even check the bag? No. Right? Because do you have people that, it fascinates me. I watch them, right? Every person's happy. They're high-fiving. They have good service. They give you the smile. Chick-fil-A is known for 2 main things. What is it? Welcome to Chick-fil-A. How can I serve you today? Every single one. The second part is my pleasure. I would say my pleasure. That's it. They built the entire business on 2 main things. How can I serve you today? Being very energetic and positive. On the back end, my pleasure. And the culture is built between that. And they're the most profitable, one of the most profitable franchise restaurants in the world, right? And they're open 6 days out of 7 days a week. Think about that, right? Because they're over and above in what? Service. And you compare that to Popeye's chicken, right? What's the difference? You may get a fist fight in the lobby, right? You may get, but the chicken's pretty good, right? And some people argue this better, but which one gets more money? Which one people last more? The service piece, right? Why? Because people want good service. They value good service. And so just know that if you're just going through doing just enough, you're not going to be high value to society, particularly the clients come back to you. What does that mean? It's just an extra commitment. Like, is it that much difference to Chick-fil-A? Like, if you think about it from an effort standpoint, it's just a really good systems and process training, right? Here's what you say in the beginning, and it's all the same, right? It's not natural. They just train them to do that way, which is 2 main things. So if I want to be that same way, right? And here's where society's gotten to. Those 2 things separate Chick-fil-A in a massive way. Hi, welcome to Chick-fil-A. How can I serve you today? Whatever it is, my pleasure. That's it, bro. And you get some pretty good, I can trust the bag when it comes out. Like Wendy's, I know I'm not getting anything close to what. I will not move that car until I check the bag, right? Chick-fil-A, we just trust it. And that's coming from what? Service. So if your client knows, hey, I'm going to call you on Thursday, I call on Thursday. If I say I'm going to give you a seller update every 2 weeks, I give you a seller update every 2 weeks no matter what. And I do that over time. What happens is that trust is built, the service piece is there, and they're much more likely to work with me and send me more referrals. Does it make sense? And tell their friends about it. And it's not that much. You're talking like a 10% more effort to get a much bigger return on the back end. Does this make sense? That's very important to look at there. Number 4, right? And this is the key part, right? You have to make sure you're setting the standard of what you do, right? Society values people that are doing something that no one else does. I'll say it again. Society values people that's doing something that no one else does, meaning they're doing what? The extra mile. Hey, so great speaking to you today, Ryan. Give the extra text. Send a video, Jeremy, when I leave the driveway. Hey, so nice meeting you guys today. The little things that make a difference afterwards is what makes them want to come back to you. Okay? That's very, very important. 4th thing here, excellence. Right? What does that mean? We do the work, right? We do the work no matter what it is, right? Nothing excellent comes without work. If you want an excellent body, what do you got to do? Get in the gym, work out, right? You want an excellent bank account, what do you have to do? Get to work, make the phone calls, and do what needs to be done, right? Excellence makes the money here. That's where the high value society, most people are doing what we call go-mo. What does that mean? They go through the motions. Right? When you go through the motions, you're not going to get excellence. You're not going to get the extra return. So you're just going to get what average people get, which is not very much, right? Average in our business is 4 homes a year. So excellence is doing what? Studying the market, learning my objection handlers, studying sales, studying Grant Cardone, watching Andy Elliott videos. All this stuff is where excellence come in, which allows me to have better service, right? Which allows me to stick to what I said I was going to do with my integrity, and I have responsibility for that, right? That's what brings you an entire framework to make sure I'm getting, which is something just to live by as my personal core values. Does that make sense? That's pillar one. There's multiple pillars, right? Pillar two, right, is that most people live their life by default, not by design. What does that mean? Most people live their life by default, not by design. They just go with the motions, and so they show up to work, they're going to do just enough, and their day is determined by whatever happens to them instead of them attacking the day. Does that make sense? Where you have to make sure that you're choosing on your terms, which is very important. And so default equals depression. You guys write that. If I go by default, equal depression. I listened to that YouTube video this morning I shared. There's like a second one after that. One of the guys said, if you go through life casually, you're going to be a casualty. What does that mean? All right, you got to make sure you're looking at it. And it says the average person, right, looks on Facebook, scrolls reels for 4 hours. The elite person spends 4 hours figuring out how to make money on social media. Does that make sense? What does that mean? Content, videos, posting stuff, posting things that get people to attract them or clients, whatever it is may be. That's the key part, right? And so the one thing that Ryan talked about a lot, there's this algorithm that runs the world. What does that mean? There's an algorithm in terms of what is called the force of average. You guys remember that? Taught this a while ago. The force of average. Anybody remember what that is? Jeremy, you remember? What does that remember? What does that mean?
So let's say you close a bunch of deals and then all of a sudden you got a few deals that fall apart. It's trying to bring it down.
Yep.
The opposite example what would be, let's say you have no money, well you got government assistance, we're trying to bring it back up a little bit.
Right, and most times at the bottom, it's much easier to stay at the bottom than it is even to get to the middle, right? And so that's the one thing is every time you have something really good happen, typically what follows that is something bad after that, right? And that's okay. That's designed to get you off your game to get you back to what? Average. And so my goal here is to live a life of excellence that gets above that. And so a few ways you're able to do that, right, is you have to understand that, look, I got to be able to make sure everything in this life is designed to keep you average. And so the cool part to worry about is that you got to make sure that you understand that there's one weapon you have as an agent, one weapon you have in business, and that weapon you have is focus, right? Perfect example about the law, the force of average is people all the time, they won't do what they say they do, and then they blame it on what? I got ADHD, man. I got ADD. Right? Well, that's just an excuse. That's like saying, yeah, I'm really fat, but I'm not going to go to the gym. Pretty much what it says, right? It's just a way to blame themselves for what it is. Versus making a decision to work out the muscle of the mind to make sure I have focus. What you guys understand is that the focus is your mind. And your mind, like I talked about last week, is what? The muscle. And so for me to have better focus, I have to do what? Train it, work it out, right? Same thing if I want bigger biceps, Ryan, what I got to do? Curls, right? A lot. And so I want to work this focus muscle out, and way to talk about this is called a reticular activator. Remember that? Taught this a million times. Reticular activator, what does that mean? It's the part of your brain that recognizes certain things. For example, pregnant women notice other pregnant women. They didn't really notice them that much until they were what? Pregnant. Your mind is hit with so much data in a day, it's designed to filter out the other things to keep it quiet so that you can focus on the things that matter to keep you alive. Make sense? So if I go buy a light blue Jeep Wrangler and I put a light blue duck on there, I think I'm doing something different, right? But what do I notice the next day? Damn, there's another light blue Jeep with a light blue duck in the front of the dash. Then the next day I notice another light blue Jeep, and I'm like, why is everybody buying these blue Jeeps? Is that the case? No, I just wasn't noticing the light blue Jeeps until I bought one, and that's called a reticular activator. And so what I need to do is train my mind and my reticular activator to focus on things that matter. And for me, that's what? Making money in business, particularly it's going to be clients, opportunities, right, and getting better at my business. Does that make sense, you guys? And so how do I do that? We'll give you guys a framework for that, which is the number one weapon you have in this business is focus. Very, very important. And so I'm working that muscle out, right? What's Elon Musk's biggest advantage, you think? He's super good at what? Focus, focus, focus. He went singular. I want every American in America to do what? Drive an electric car. That was the goal. And through that process, he's done what? Create the most valuable car company in America, right? Maybe potentially the world, I don't know. Then he's like, hey, I'm going to get people to Mars. That's something he's laser focused on, probably do it, right? The second part he did, hey, how do we quit wasting government waste with these rockets that they just throw away, have a rocket and come back and basically land itself, one of the most valuable companies in the world, based on what? Laser focus, right? And so that's important to kind of look at. So what are 5 parts? It's kind of similar to what we talked about Core 4, but it was actually taken from the Core 4 in design, but I want you guys to get it. It's basically 5 G's we have. Number 1, every day. How to make sure I want you guys to focus on the right things. I want you to do gratitude every day. So this is the framework, right? The second part, the pillar, gratitude. 5 things daily that I'm grateful for. I just write them down. Why is that important? Why are we doing that? I'm working out the reticular activator to focus my mind on what? the good instead of the bad. I'm taking the blue Jeep with the blue duck on the front and making that the thing I'm focusing on for my life. So when I tend to focus on the good things that I'm grateful for, what happens in life? It tends to be better. Now here's the crazy part. When I'm grateful for it, what does God tend to do? Reward you. If I'm ungrateful for it, I tend to not get more of those rewards. Does that make sense? You ever seen the videos online where they give the homeless guy like $10,000 and he's like, oh, thanks a lot. And that's it, right? No one's going to want to give that person more money, more things, and not grateful for it. But if I'm super grateful for it, and I take time to be grateful for it, what tends to happen? I focus on that. It returns to me in many cases, right? Through the law, we call it reciprocity in a way, or through God, however you want to call it, makes a big difference, right? Number 2, genetics. What does that mean? We'll call it body. You got to make sure you take care of your body. You got to make sure your body's weaponized, right? We talk about this a lot through our warrior stuff. That's where this came from. You got to discipline your body, right? And you discipline your body, discipline your mind, okay? Super important every day. I look at 2 things. Did I work out? Did I stick to a diet? That's it. Did I work out? Stick to a diet. Why is that important? Energy, it's your weapon, and it's your focus, right? If I know my number 1 thing is focus, and so the number 1 way of discipline comes through my body, it's important. Here's the crazy part. From a sales standpoint, going back to the first pillar, which is these here, integrity. If someone's super overweight, what does that say about integrity to the person a lot of times? Does it say about they don't have it? Why? It's uncomfortable to talk about, but do you trust somebody who's looking at you trying to sell you something big that's breathing, sweating on top of you? Why? Exactly right, right? They tend to what? 100%, right? And it's just how humans are, why we're wired that way to survive. Okay? And so I want to understand, like, this is something that's really important, and it all goes in line with the first part here. So second part of that, right, what's very important, working out, eating correctly. Calories consumed minus calories burned is either a deficit or surplus, that simple, right? Cardio, the whole thing for you guys on that, super important. Number 3, right, goals. Daily, important, make sure I'm on top of this daily. This is daily kind of framework for you guys to work through. That's your operating system. So most people screw goals up, right? They do annually goals. And the problem is, I get them January 1st, man, I want to make $200,000, it'd be great. January goes pretty good, February goes all right, March I pull up and I'm like, man, I'm not really on track. So then people do what? They give up, right? Or they don't really double down, they wait all say December and then all of a sudden, or they do quarterly. And they don't look at their goals for the first 8 weeks and all of a sudden they come down to the 12th week and what do they say? Oh, I didn't hit it, I'm just going to go out drinking tonight, I'll reset goals tomorrow, we'll do next 12 weeks, right? It doesn't bring actual alignment in many cases, and so you got to focus on this daily. What does that mean? I take my 12-week, turn it into a monthly and a weekly, every day. Okay, that's which is kind of what these are for here. I want to align whatever this is here with my daily, my one thing, into my monthly, which is important. I do that every Sunday with our software in our stack. It's very important, okay? I even have this thing here on my calendar. I did it last week where I was like, all right, I want to make sure I'm really looking at this. So every morning, I'll show you, at 5:40, it pulls up my 12-week targets on my calendar. So I know exactly, here's my business 12-week goal, here's my body 12-week goal, my balance 12-week goal, my being 12-week goal, right? So as I'm getting ready to go into the gym, boom, I'm reading that, going through it. So I'm what? Reminded of what that is, and I bring that into my daily. So what's your daily? The big 3 I talked about yesterday. Sorry, the big 3 I talked about on the previous page. That's a big thing for you guys there. Number 4, group of people, right? We'll put group of people. G's here, but those are basically your balance, people you spend your time with. I want to be very intentional about how I do that, right? Making sure I'm investing, date night with my spouse, time with my kids, right? Time with friends I care about. I want to make strategic investment in getting around people who bring value to each other, a very important piece there overall, right? And 5 is make sure I'm having connection prayer to God, right? Make sure that 5th piece of that is my guidance, right? Through God, which is my consistent prayer. I'm speaking what my desires, my goals are, connecting with God. It allows me to have what? More fulfillment, more happiness, and that's that being aspect of what we do here. Does this make sense? And so these 2 here, right? This is a daily operation system, which is our core 4 pretty much, with just one more. Very close, like the way you put it. Along with this is 2 main operating systems to kind of train by and go by, and obviously pass along to kids too. Make sense? Pretty short and sweet. Any feedback on that? One last thing I have on my list from Coach Bill Pipes. He talks about right now, in many cases, it's taken 23 touches to get an appointment in the current marketplace with some people. 23 touches. What does that mean?
A lot of resistance.
You got to make sure you're calling, and that's text, emails, calls. I got to get touches so I can differentiate myself 23 times.